Myself P.Y. Lalitha Chaitanya, lecturer in Commerce, Garment City College. Today's topic is Information Technology Act 2000. Let us move on to the definition of Information Technology Act. The Indian Information Technology Act 2000 was enacted on 17th October 2000 in India. This is the first cyber law which is established to regulate the information technology or computerized activities of India. This act is formed based on the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, which has aim of providing equal legal treatment to the users of electronic communication in United States. However, the main purpose behind the introduction of Information Technology Act 2000 in India to boost and encourage electronic commerce, electronic transactions and other activities concerned with business, commerce or trade. Information Technology Act 2000 helps the government to prevent the misuse arising through the use of electronic mediums. In the short, it can be concluded that Information Technology Act 2000 consists of various provisions relating to e-commerce, e-governance, e-record, e-signature and digital signature. Let us move on to the scope of Information Technology Act 2000. The scope or applicability of Information Technology Act 2000 are as follows. Let us move on to the first point. It applies to the online transactions in India and outside India. Next, it may not apply to the following areas. 2. A negotiate instrument which is defined in Section 3 of Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. To power of attorney which is defined in Section 1A of Power of Attorney Act 1882. The applicability of Information Technology Act 2000 to a contract of sale of any immovable property. Let us move on to what are the main objectives of Information Technology Act 2000. Here, the main aim of this act is to provide a legal recognition for transactions which are conducted in electronic format via electronic data interchange. The key objectives which are enriched in the preamble of the act are as follows. The first point here is to provide a legal recognition to all e-commerce transactions. So this is the one of the objective of Information Technology Act, providing a legal recognitions to all the e-commerce transactions. And the second objective of Information Technology Act 2000 is to encourage and facilitate e-governance. To encourage and facilitate e-governance. Here, what do you mean by e-governance? We will move on. Let us see that what do you mean by e-governance. E-governance refers to the process of filling and submission of any form or application or any other document with the Government Department in the electronic format. Process of filling and submission of any form or application or any other document with the Government Department in the electronic format is known as electronic governance. That is nothing but e-governance. For example for e-governance is submission of the passport form online, filing of income tax returns online, etc. In Andhra Pradesh state, For instance, there are e-Seva Kendras which facilitates the public in paying their bills and applying for other government services online. Here, the main benefit of e-governance is that it is less costly, quick, effective, and efficient in nature. It also ensures accuracy in the performance of transactions. Here, what are the main rules are there relating to the e-governance? All the rules relating to the e-governance are enclosed in the Information Technology Act. Some of them are as follows. The Act provides the legal recognition of digital signatures, that is, any signed document which is stored in electronic format would be considered as a valid and authenticated electronic record. Examples of digital documents include e-filing of income tax returns, e-filing of patents or copyrights, application, and so on. Here we will be discussing briefly about what are the different dimensions of e-governance. The following are the different modes of dimensions of e-governance is nothing but government to citizen, G2C. G2C is nothing but government to citizen. As its name suggests, the model of e-governance will connect the citizens of country to their government. It employs various democratic and public services. The government can contact their citizens and can listen to their suggestions, thereby improving the society. This model carries the following services. So here we'll look on what we mean by e-citizen. E-citizen is nothing but this will provide integrated service centers which offer many services to citizens at one place. Once again I am repeating to you people, e-citizen is nothing but it will provide integrated service centers which offer many services to citizens at one place. For example, issue of certificates, ration cards, payment of bills and taxes, submission of passport application, etc. The e-Seva is an example of one such center in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So, this e-citizen will provide integrated service centers which offer many services to the citizens at one place is known as e-citizen. Let us move on to the e-transport. These centers will provide RTA, Road Transport Authority, related services including registration of motor vehicles, issue of driving license, tax and fee collection, etc. E-education means these centers will provide education services to citizens is known as e-education. E-medicine is nothing but hospitals of different states are linked. Hospitals of different states are linked to provide a collaborative and improved medical service is known as e-medicine. E-registration means it provides services for registration of properties, transfer of properties, payment of tax duty, etc. The citizen services aims to improve the service in 5 dimensions. They are speed, quality, reliability, convenience, and cost. Let us move on to the next point, consumer to government. Consumer to government, that is nothing but C2G, consumer to government. Consumer to government is nothing but these models deals with interaction of citizens with government. Applications like electronic voting, just like elections, census, tax payment, etc. comes under this model. So this model is dealing with interaction of citizens with government. Just like census, tax payments, electronic voting, elections, all this will come under the consumer to government. Let us move on to the next point, government to business. Next move on to the government to business. G2B. Government to business is nothing but industries, business or enterprises are chief sources of income to a country. Business usually require a lot of interaction with the government. For example, when paying taxes, fees, getting licenses, etc. A service named e-taxation will provide a business with all these needs. In order to develop G2B, that is nothing but government to business services, government must implement standards, provide secure payment mechanisms, implement PKI, public key infrastructure, for performing secure and authentic transactions. Let us move on to the fourth point, government to NGO, that is G2N. This model of e-governance aims at building connections between government and non-government organizations, which helps in the betterment of the society. So, this model of e-governance aims at building connections between government and non-government organizations, which helps in the betterment of the society, is known as government to NGO. It can be achieved through interaction and publication. That is, the citizen and NGOs should be allowed to involve in government activities through publications and interactions, is known as government to NGO. Now, in this e-governance, one of the different models or dimensions of e-governance is government to government, that is G2G. This model aims at developing and improving government process. It is also known as e-administration. This model involves linking of all government offices into a network so that they can carry out administrative jobs easily. The most important areas in this model are e-secretariat. E-secretariat aims at linking various government departments such that there can be efficient exchange of information among them, is known as e-secretariat. E-police. E-police aims at keeping a track of both police personnel and criminals. The personal databases will store records of police officers, their previous postings, specialization, etc. This information will help in intelligent postings and promotion of police officials. The e-police service also includes online FIR filing, finding case status, etc. So, this is nothing but e-police. Let us move on to E-Code. E-Code. This area aims at transforming the manual legal system to an automated system. Means the judges of higher courts like Supreme Courts and High Courts can consider appeals from a remote location using the intranet. The judges can give their decisions online based on the recorded facts of the case. Is known as E-Court. So these are the different dimensions of e-governance. We have discussed what do you mean by e-governance, what are the rules are there for the e-governance, and what are the different dimensions for e-governance. Just now we have seen that. Let us move on to the next objective of Information Technology Act. To encourage and facilitate e-commerce. To encourage and facilitate e-commerce. So, here to encourage and facilitate of e-commerce. And let us move on to the main objective of Information Technology Act is to encourage and facilitate e-governance as well as to encourage and facilitate e-commerce. Just now we have discussed what are the e-governance. Under e-governance, what do you mean by e-commerce? We have discussed just now. Now, let us move on to the next point. To encourage the use of electronic storage of data and information as an eco-friendly alternative instead of paper-based storage. The main objective of Information Technology Act 2000 is to encourage the use of electronic storage of data and information as eco-friendly alternative instead of paper-based storage. Before we used to store everything in the paper, but now everything because of coming the technology is changing. Due to that, everything will be storing in the computers. So paper-based storage will be, instead of paper-based storage, will be moving on to electronic wise. One more objective of Information Technology Act 2000 is to make the following amendments in the Indian Penal Code, the Indian Evidence Act 1872, coming to next, the Bankers Book Evidence Act 1891, and one more amendment is the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. Coming to next, to look into and resolve the matters arising as a result of the above mentioned objectives. The IT Act was passed to bring change in the modern law of electronic commerce, which was adopted by the UN Commission on International Trade Law. The one more objective of Information Technology Act is to manage national and international level cyber crimes, to provide legal sanction for transferring of funds, to provide legal sanction for transferring of funds, to facilitate, one more objective is to facilitate government departments in electronic filling of documents, to facilitate government departments in electronic filling of document. So these are the main objectives of Information Technology Act. There are some of the positive aspects or features of ITA 2000. That is, even though the Indian IT Act is being criticized greatly for its unspecific behavior towards cyber crimes, Yet it possesses certain positive features. The following are the new positive aspects or features which are briefly explained. What are the positive of ITA 2000? Let us move on to the first point in positive aspects of and features of the ITA 2000 is ITA Information Technology Act 2000 has outlined several cyber crimes before the implementation of the Indian cyber law. There was no redressal body for solving the issues, and Indians were unable to seek an legal remedy for such issues. But ITA 2000 has changed the complete scenario by solving out the cyber crimes taking place in the society. This is the one of the positive aspect of the ITA 2000. Let us move on to the next point. Positive aspect of the ITA is before the introduction of ITA 2000, email was not allowed to be used as a legal form of communication and not served as legal evidence in the court of law. But ITA 2000 has changed the complete scenario by legally identifying and accepting the electronic format. ITA is in fact a latest form. This is also one of the positive aspects of ITA 2000. Before introduction of ITA 2000, emails were not allowed to be used in a legal format of communication, but after coming the implementation of ITA 2000, the complete scenario has changed and it is legally identified and accepting the electronic format. Let us move on to the next point. The ITA 2000 has offered such a legal infrastructure that it helps in performing a e-commerce in an easy manner by the corporates, which was otherwise not possible before the introduction of Indian cyber law, as there was nobody to regulate all online commercial transactions. The ITA 2000 has provided legal validity and sanction to digital signatures which are used by the corporates to carry out their transactions online. Nowadays, a corporate sector companies are usually saving their information on their own computers besides maintaining a separate backup. If in case any company data is being hacked, copied or destroyed, then in such cases the company holds an opportunity to have a statutory remedy according to the ITA 2000. The company may claim for the monetary damages in the form of compensation not more than 10 crores. There are some negative aspects of ITA 2000. Let us see what are that negative aspects are there in ITA 2000. The first point, e-commerce basically relies on the domain names, but the ITA 2000 does not cover the issues of the domain names of e-commerce. IT Act even fails to address the rights and liabilities of the domain name holders. The second point is the ITA 2000 usually results in jurisdiction issues. Coming to for third point, ITA 2000 has failed to solve the issue of e-commerce such as monitoring and controlling the content and privacy issues. IT Act fails to include several types of internet crimes and cyber crimes as follows. Still some failure is there in IT Act. Several types of internet crimes and cyber crimes are as going as follows. Like prevailing abusement on the chat room. Next, cyber theft. Third, cyber defamation. Next, cyber fraud, cyber stalking, cyber harassment, cyber squatting, illegal credit card numbers, and so on. Here, ITA 2000 does not provide any proper framework for the implementation of Indian cyber laws. Besides this, India does not have a good internet users, and the government and police officials are also not intelligent enough to deal with internet issues. So that's why it is becoming one of the negative aspects in ITA 2000. The Information Technology Act does not cover negotiable instruments as it is not capable of controlling the electronic payment gateways. This is also one of the negative aspects of the ITA 2000. And one more point in this particular is the digital signature. One more objective of the Information Technology Act is digital signature. A digital signature is one of the method of encryption used to provide authentication. The main idea of digital signature is to protect the message or a data from modifications. Digital signature is very popular in the world of network security. Basically, it is a kind of asymmetric cryptography used to support the security properties of the handwritten signature on the paper. The digital signature scheme provides two algorithms. One algorithm for signing, which requires the user's secret or private key, and the other algorithm is for verifying signature, which requires the user's public key. The result of the signature process is called the digital signature. To make you clear, digital signatures are used to provide authentication of any electronic information. Consider two users A and B. A wants to send a draft of a contract to B. Now A ensures B that message is unchanged is sent by him only. The sender A writes his draft of a contract into an email and applies a special function known as hash function on the message. This creates the checksum of the information. Then A uses its private key that encrypts this checksum by applying its private key obtained from public private key authority. The encrypted message becomes the A's digital signature of the message. The checksum of the message is then sent to the receiver. So this is known as a digital signature. Let us move on to some of the electronic signature. According to the Uniform Electronic Transaction Act, electronic signature is defined as electronic sound, symbol or process attached to or logically associated with a record and executed or adopted by a person with the intent to sign the record. The provisions regarding the electronic signature is been stated in the section 3 under section A. According to this section, an electronic signature would be considered as authentic if in case if it is regarded as reliable, if it is mentioned in the second schedule, the electronic signature would be regarded as reliable if in case it meets the following conditions. The first point here is the authentication data or a signature creation data should be within the context, linked, associated with the signatory. The authentication data or a signature creation data should be within the control of the signatory at a time of signing. The alteration changes made after affixing the electronic signature must be detectable. It must meet all the conditions which are given by the central government. The method for verifying and ascertaining the electronic signature authentication is prescribed by the central government. Electronic signature certificates. The section 35 and 39 of the Information Technology Act 2000 deals with the issue, suspension and revocation of electronic and digital signature certificate. Here the issue of certificate, the central government has prescribed a form through which any person can apply for the issue of electronic signature certificate to the certifying authority. The fee for such application is not more than 25,000 and it is to be paid by the applied person to the certifying authority. However, there would be different fee for different classes of applicants, which is also prescribed by the central government. Here the certifying authority will issue the certificate after verifying and ascertaining the needed information. The application might be either accepted or rejected. The issuance is usually based on satisfaction of certifying authority. Some of the conditions which needs to be satisfied or met are: the applicant should have a private key in the correspondence with the public key to be listed in the electronic signature certificate. He should have a private key in correspondence with the public key to be listed in electronic signature certificate. The applicant should have the ability of creating an electronic signature, which is possible if in case he holds a private key. The applicant's public key and private key combines a key functioning pair. So these are the main things regarding the electronic signature in the Information Technology Act. And just now we have known that objectives of the Information Technology Act. Lastly, just we'll move on to the significance of Information Technology Act. That is once again I'm giving what is the importance of Information Technology Act in explaining it briefly to you people. The Information Technology Act 2000 plays a significant role in regulating the cyber crimes prevailing in India. This act was introduced or providing legal recognition for all business activities taking place in cyberspace electronically. Following are the points highlighted the significance or importance of Information Technology Act 2000 in India. Let us see what are the following points which will be highlighted in the Information Technology Act 2000. The importance in Information Technology Act is one of the most important points are, it helps in controlling, regulating and protecting the online business transaction. The Information Technology Act helps business organizations to maintain proper business records electronically instead of paperwork. And also it helps to regulate all types of cyber crimes like piracy, hacking, tampering, etc. And also it provides a legal recognition to digital signature which need to authenticated by authorized person or a company. And it provides protection to the data of companies if the data is hacked, copied or destroyed. And one more importance of Information Technology Act is to provide compensation to the victims against the cyber crimes or damages occurred due to any cyber crime activity. It also encourages the use of electronic storage of data and information. It facilitates electronic governance and electronic commerce. Electronic governance. It facilitates electronic governance and electronic commerce. It allows electronic filing of documents with government agencies or departments with full protection. So this Information Technology Act allows electronic filing of documents with government agencies or departments with full protection. You can store the data. It helps in online business transactions or transfer of money by providing legal recognition to banks under the Evidence Act 1891 and Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. It is significant in case of taking actions against the offences related to cyber crimes. Thus, the Information Technology Act ITA 2000 is very significant and important in the current business environment, because in current scenario internet is become a common, and through internet only every business transaction is processed. For example, purchasing or selling of products through online stores, banking transactions like deposits, withdrawals, transfers, etc. Ticket booking, business applications, company digital signature processing, etc. All these are the important points. All these are the importance of Information Technology Act. Thank you.